Christmas. Welcome to Exploring the Way on this holiday or holiday week, whenever you are watching. I am taking advantage of the fact that I am not in parish ministry right now. And usually when I'm in parish ministry, there's a lot of different things to think about when it comes to a Christmas sermon or reflection. And there's some pressure to keep it light, not too heady, to kind of leave everyone with a pleasant kind of happy sense. So they're all ready to open presents. There's a lot of people that come to church only on Christmas and Easter, and you kind of want to have the best sermon ever. And not offend anyone, right? But I'm not in parish ministry right now, and so I kind of didn't box myself into any particular kind of reflection. And so the reflection that came out is one that I probably wouldn't preach on Christmas Day, but it's what spoke to me. So I hope it speaks to you as well. Thank you for joining. I don't know about you, but I am keenly aware of how long the nights are these days. It starts getting dark a little after 4 o'clock, it seems like. And December 21st is the shortest day or the longest night, the Winter Solstice. So now that we are past that day, we are gaining light, and I am more than ready to experience a little more daylight. When the ancients observed winter solstice, it was with fear that the light may not return. They knew that they needed light. They depended on it for warmth and for sight and for cooking and the growth of plants, their food. They could not live without light. And so they waited with bated breath for the light to reappear. Even in our advanced nation and time, we are still so dependent upon the sun, and we yearn for longer and brighter days. We look forward to the weather warming so that it's a little more comfortable to walk outside. Gardeners are ordering seeds now, anticipating the days when they can plant, even though it hasn't even snowed yet. At least my dad is ordering seeds. And some are using light therapy, generating an artificial light source to ease seasonal affective disorder. It is not a coincidence that we put Christmas lights on our trees and on our homes, that Christians light candles on an Advent wreath, and Jewish people light candles on a menorah for Hanukkah. We instinctively want to put light next to this darkness. I invite you, if you feel so moved, to take a moment, pause this video, and find a candle and a match or a lighter and light your candle. I don't have to run and go get mine. I have a little star-shaped candle that I found, and I am gonna light a candle. All right, I'm gonna put this off screen though. Scholars believe that we celebrate Christ's birth on December 25th because it is the birth date of Sol Invictus, which literally means unconquered sun. This was a sun god of the Roman Empire. It was a bold statement made by the early Christians to worship the Son of God, S-O-N, on this date instead of the sun god, S-U-N. St. Augustine in the 15th century remarked, "Let us celebrate this day as a feast, not for the sake of this sun, S-U-N, which is beheld by believers as much as ourselves, but for the sake of the one who created the sun." So this was clearly a conscious connection from the very beginning, or at least from early on. Because the lead up to Christmas, this season of Advent we have been journeying through, coincides with lengthening nights, at least in the northern hemisphere, right? The assigned scriptures for December are loaded with imagery of light and darkness. On Christmas Day, many Christians will hear these words from the Gospel of John. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And it goes on to say, what has come into being in him was life, and the life was the light of all people. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness did not overcome it. These poetic words open this gospel, and you will find many similar passages describing light and darkness in both the Hebrew and Christian scriptures. Then they all rest on this assumption that light is good and darkness is bad. This is heavily influenced by Greek thought, which is known for its dualities. And so it follows that the Christ who is coming is to be the light of the world, the ultimate fighter of darkness. But this dark dualism doesn't work for me, and I wonder if it works for you. Darkness isn't by definition bad. I know it can be scary to walk in the dark and frustrating not to be able to see what's ahead. The darkness, though, is necessary. The night invites us to rest. The dark womb is where we were originally formed, and a seed begins its life in dark soil. And since when is light unconditionally good? The summer sun can be too intense, burning our skin and not to be looked at directly. Fluorescent lighting can be harsh, and sleeping in Alaska's summers a challenge. The truth is we need both. We need light and darkness. They balance each other. They complement one another. There is something especially beautiful and comforting about a candle in the dark or a string of Christmas lights at night. The light is seen because of the darkness. The shepherds and the wise men in Luke's telling of the nativity story the shepherds in Luke and the wise ones in Matthew, two different gospels that both have a star, right? And stars cannot be seen or followed during the day. They needed the dark. Both those shepherds and the Magi needed the dark. They needed to travel by night in order to find their way. It was the dark and the light working together that guided them to Christ. To be honest, I'm a little disappointed that this line of thought challenges the ways I have sometimes used this metaphor of light and darkness. It is so easy to pit light against darkness and make the whole world seem simple and straightforward. The light is always good, the dark is always bad. They duke it out and we know that the light is going to win. But it's just not an honest approach. In the real world, things are not that simple. Light and dark simply are. We don't have to assign values to them in a general, broad, sweeping kind of way. They are not purely good or purely bad. They are necessary. They are necessary. And in a real world, the light and the dark so often sit side by side, each of them offering gifts and challenges. I am so looking forward to more light in the days ahead. It totally makes sense. December 21, we had 8 hours and 46 minutes and some odd seconds of daylight. So 15 minutes, basically 15 minutes shy of 9 hours. During the spring equinox, we will have 12 hours of daylight. 12 hours of daylight and 12 hours of darkness. I am so grateful that we are journeying back to those days of more and more light. How about you? I'm wondering on this Christmas day or Christmas weekend how the longer nights are affecting you. Perhaps you notice that they are impacting your energy or your mood. Are you able to see the gifts of the darkness, the gifts of the longer night? And if you aren't able to come up with an idea of how you might be blessed by the darkness, I invite you to ponder that a little bit. And I am wondering how you are bringing light into these long nights. How are you finding ways to balance out the darkness? And this is challenging for me. I gave this reflection quite a bit of thought, did a lot of reflecting on this, and got some input on it as well, because it's challenging to kind of notice the ways in which the ways we use the metaphor of light and darkness kind of break down. And this light and darkness metaphor, with darkness always being bad, it has a way of leaking into and promoting or supporting racism. And so I'm wondering how this challenging this metaphor sits with you this day. And maybe you're just like, hey, it's Christmas. I didn't want to think this much. Okay. Watch it later. Just take what works for you and leave what doesn't. But I had fun thinking about this and really challenging myself to let things be more gray and less simple. Let them be complex. So I am so glad that you could join me for this Christmas reflection. Wherever you are, I hope that you have a wonderful holiday. It's, again, a very strange Christmas, I know, a very strange holiday, but hopefully it can be a holy time for you in some way. Don't forget to subscribe. That is the best way to support me. And blessings as you explore the way. Namaste.